talk about this thing called engagement. Why should we focus on engagement? Well, I am at that age where I have to use reading glasses here, so I'm going to share a couple things with you. First of all, oops, I hit the black. There we go. First of all, work is done by people. And in this organization, would you agree that most of the work is done by people? According to Daniel Goleman, who wrote a book, he's done a lot of work in the field of emotional intelligence. He actually referred to human beings as an open-loop system. And what that means is that just by being in the presence of other people, you cannot not be influenced by them. We have specific parts of our brains that are designed to do nothing but get into the minds of other people and try and figure out what they're doing and why they're doing it and what their intentions are to us. So work is done by people, but at the same time, we are directly influenced by everybody around us. And whether that's a positive interaction or not, it affects our willingness to engage in our jobs and what we do. Employee engagement boosts morale. How many of you have ever been a part of a work group that you just could not wait to get back in to be a part of because the energy was so positive in it? Anybody ever had that experience? And it's kind of a chemistry, okay? So I gotta quit hitting that button. The other thing we know about employee engagement is engaged employees tend to be far less likely to leave. In fact, there was a recent study by the Families and Work Institute, and they said that if an employee is truly engaged, they are 87% less likely to leave your organization than they would otherwise. So we have lower turnover. Anyway, has anybody ever seen any of the statistics on employee turnover, what it costs organizations? When you lose a good employee, and by the way, when people leave, which ones normally do leave? The good ones or the... Why do the good ones tend to leave first? Because they can. They have the best resume, the best skills. They usually have the best interpersonal skills, and they can. And if they're in an environment that they find less than stimulating, they will tend to leave. Client satisfaction is a huge reason to invest in employee engagement. In particular in healthcare organizations, what we see increasingly is a very high level of correlation between engaged employees, satisfied employees, committed employees, and the experience that they create for the people that come to see them, in this case, patients. But ultimately, I think what's most important is that employee engagement consistently has been shown to lead to higher productivity. I am not an OD person or a training person by background. I actually worked for a company called, does anybody remember a company called Allied Signal before it merged with Honeywell? I spent the first 10 years out of college with Honeywell, or with Allied Signal rather, and the last 4 as a new product development manager, leading the design and development of next generation analog brake control systems. Now that's about as far away from organizational development as you can get. So when I saw the difference, my kind of morphing into this current role was based on some very acute observations operationally that I saw with the people that I worked with. Engineers, accountants. I was in charge of cross-functional teams, and those people who were genuinely enthused, they were committed to not only doing their best work, but the organization. I could count on almost double the output that I could from other people. Here's a couple interesting statistics that just came out this month from the Gallup organization. Compared to organizations that have low engagement, or companies, or including hospitals, that are in the top 10% of engagement scores, they actually have, on average, 72% higher earnings per share. The Gallup organization also estimates that the cost of disengaged workers cost the U.S. economy about $350 billion. $350 billion a year. Could you do something with your portion of that? How many more? How much better equipment? How many new hospital beds could you put in to take care of people with just your portion of that? And then finally, Towers Perrin, a consulting firm out of Great Britain, they said that employee engagement is consistently linked to higher operating income, higher net income growth, and higher earnings per share growth. So at the very end of the day, what we find is that there's a really solid business case for employee engagement. But at the end of the day, everybody has to buy into it. Let me ask you before, and I'll kind of share my thoughts on it. Who's responsible for employee engagement? Who do you think? Everybody. Is it just your job as leaders to do it? Is it just the senior leaders? No, it's everybody's job. Everybody has a role to play in creating a workplace that people can genuinely engage in what they do.